hopefully you can hear me. This is the first live I've done. I think it must be 8 or 9 weeks since the schools broke up here in the UK. So I'm hoping everything's okay. I'm hoping the volume's okay and that you can hear me. I've got my paper set up for a nice, easy landscape, just to get these live streams going again. Like I said before, I do plan on doing sort of at the minimum Tuesday morning, but I could slip a couple of extra live streams in as well during the week. So we'll just see how things go. I'm not gonna start running and trying to do too much all at once. After a bit of a break, I want to try and ease myself back into it, and I have done a couple of videos here and there, and I am getting back into the swing of things. So just wanted a simple landscape scene. You can see, just starting off with, I've got my tray here, so I'm using this tray for and these are actually M. Graham paints. So this is where I'm starting first, and of course I've got my small hake brush. You can get bigger, but I do have a bigger one, but I don't tend to use it as much. So I'm using this one to just easy to manage. It's not too big, and if you don't have any hake brushes, then this is probably a perfect size to get. Now I am going to switch up brushes. Just a little bit of interest here in the middle of the sky. I'm going to take advantage of that, so let's just soften some of that back. Again, this is a sky, so I want some nice soft edges. That could be a bit of light popping through the clouds, that sort of thing. So we'll see how things progress, see what I can do with that space, but I'm quite happy to have a little bit of light popping through, and you can see even, I don't know whether you can see that, let me see, yep. You can see even a little bit of pigment coming down, so it does have that sort of sun busting through the cloud sort of look. So it could be sun rays, that sort of thing. We can work on that. I don't usually do a lot with the sky, like this would normally be done, but for this one, we'll just see how it goes on, and I'll just start adding something now to the bottom. I just want to cover that that white paper. It's always horrible to look at, but you want to try and get all that covered with as less messing as possible. Maybe, I think I'm using this wrong brush, so I'm going to grab the small hake again, just to get coverage quite easy. Covers a lot of area, so I don't have to mess too much. So there we go, that's the ground area. In fact, I'm going to go a little bit darker with that. So this is just yellow ochre. I'm going to add sap green to that. It is one of my favourite colour combinations, just sort of half yellow ochre, half sap green. And you can see the sort of colour that gives. Really nice summer sort of colour. I know summer's sort of leaving on its way out now. I don't know whether we're going to get any more nice weather. We've had a few good days here and there, but nothing sort of prolonged. So just get this nice colour. So I'm just rubbing the bottom. I don't want the pigment to move back into that wet paint area. So I'm just happy to leave things as it is. And so I'm thinking I do have a bit of a reference for this painting. I say reference, it's not really what I'm using to paint from, but I do like a tree on the reference, so I think I'm going to use my reference. And I think this is a painting for another time. It's a photograph that I took. You can see the deer in the shot, so it's a really nice shot. And the thing that I do like is this dappled sunlight on the ground. I like the shadows and all the things, the light sort of bouncing off the tree. So I think this will be a good painting for another time. Let me know if you would be interested in watching that, whether I do it live or just a normal long form video. I'd love to know your thoughts. So I am going to use this reference for the tree, the main tree in this painting, and maybe looking at some of the background. I do like the background as well. So this is really the reference that has sort of inspired me a bit. Maybe I should do the deer, not sure, but we'll see how we get on, see what I add. But I do like the elements of this reference, which I took myself, so there's no sort of issues there, anything like that. So I think I'll just go in, and there's I think this might be going nearly dry. Let me just pull some of that edge of the paper because it still may bleed up. I don't want that. Not what I want, not today. So just going to go in with some sort of neat mix of yellow ochre to get that tree, and it's sort of in the middle. But I'm going to move it to one side a little bit. I'm just going to have it, the tree is going to be here. I do like that spot. Maybe, okay, I've already moved it. So this is one of the things that you can do when you're painting. Nothing's set in stone. You can move things. You can change things about however you feel. And it's all about what that would look like in the scene. So in the composition, is it going to look better bang in the middle? But usually when it comes to paintings, you don't have anything sort of central, because that would be it's just better to have things off to the side, that sort of thing. It just adds a little bit more interest, and you don't want anything too uniform sort of stood there in the scene. So just gonna add some of this yellow ochre now. There's some branches coming. Maybe I can go under this light here. So there's some branches coming out, and they go all the way sort of to the, they come out of the scene, and I could do another branch coming up here and sort of comes down here. Okay, so bear with me. It's not looking too great at the moment, but I'm just at the planning stage. So this is not as important. I know I said it in my last video. The first sort of wash is just planning and getting things down, making those decisions, and just finding out what's best for your composition, where you want things in the overall painting. I think when this grass area does dry, I'm going to go a bit more green, and then I want that dappled light all across. In fact, I think I'm going to go a little bit higher with the yellow ochre. It's quite a nice sunlit scene, so you got all this nice colours in the background. I'm just going to pull them. There we go. And there is a little bit of a sort of a hill. So I'm just including those as well in this painting. So I have lost some of the tree, but that doesn't matter. This is just the lightest tone. So I will be going in with some darker tones, the shadows, that sort of thing, which is the main sort of appeal, the main attractiveness of this tree, which I think. So I'm just going to add some of that now. I'm mixing some, this is Van Dyke Brown. Van Dyke Brown, a little bit of neutral tint, a bit of the yellow ochre, just to give me that nice earthy sort of colour. Quite nice for the shadows. Let's see how dark. It's quite dark, so I'm not going to underestimate. I'm not going to undercolour it. I want it undercolour. Is that word? But I'm not going to go too light. I want this to be quite punchy. I want it to be quite dark, and so you get all this sort of light coming through. So I'm just painting the darkness of the tree now, and this is still wet, so there is going to be some softening and some mixing, but just going to allow that on the paper, allow that to happen. Let's see, pull the camera a bit closer. So yeah, I got these nice. And the good thing is when you're doing wet in wet, especially with a tree, it does soften and makes the subject, it makes the tree look rounded. So it's not like a flat shape, because the colour's going on quite soft and blending. You do get the shape of the tree as well. So you don't have to mess too much. I'm just going in, and don't usually do this sort of thing, but I think it is working. This is quite nice, the way this is coming down. I'm going to get another branch, so you get that really dark. And I will just come down and yeah. So there's all these different highlights hitting the tree, and that I can add more as the pigment starts to dry. I can add more and get more precise sort of details, but this is just giving me the shape, which I'm happy with at the moment. It's giving me the shape of the tree, and I'm gonna, once this sort of starts drying, then we can go in and add. I know it looks a bit like a kid's painting at the moment. It looks a bit, I don't know how to, it just looks very childlike at the moment, but hopefully, I say, I can change that. As I paint, hopefully things will start making sense. Often that's what happens with watercolor, so don't worry too much. And if you're painting along, then don't worry. If you just keep working at it, things will go through these little stages, and then they will start to make sense once you get further into the painting, it's sort of difficult to see at the moment, but things do start working. You just got to be patient. You just got to keep working at it. And don't forget, this is still wet, so it's a bit more of a challenge because you can't get those solid shapes down, but it will dry. And I'm going to change my brush out and clean that. And we do have, I'm going to just add a little bit of background. So there is a few things going on as well in the background. So this is quite a nice little part of the painting. And this is again just using a bit of yellow ochre. Quite a light mix because it's in the distance. And I just want to, some of those trees, there's some trees here in the background. So this is just having fun with the hake and coming down to a point. There's a few trunks, and I'll go in darker as well for those. Once I've got these shapes in, and yep, there we go. So yeah, this is slightly different to what I normally do, but I'm happy to well, do something a bit different. Sometimes you got to mix things up because it keeps things interesting for yourself as the artist, rather than painting, you know, all the same sort of things. It's good to think outside the box. It's good to do something slightly different. Let me move this camera just so that you can see what's going on. I know it doesn't look much at the moment, but I'm hoping that will change as I continue to work on this painting. Let me see if I can get a better, there we go. Okay. So I'm just going to add a few sort of trunks, dark. So I'm going to add a little bit of the neutral tint to the Van Dyke brown and yellow ochre. So I'm getting this quite a dark mix, and just want to pop a little bit of that in. And there's a few trees, so let me pop in a few suggestions here. So that'll be quite nice once these are buried in branches and all that sort of thing going on. I'm not really, there's no rhyme or reason. Just going in and just defining, just getting a few darks in amongst these little tree shapes, really. Hopefully you can see that. Let's bring the camera a little bit, there we go. Okay, so it's a little bit dark. I know what I want to do. I want to add a little bit of yellow, so there's a little bit of light popping through. And I'm just thinking which brush, you know what, I don't think, all the time I've had this brush, I don't think I've ever used it. It's just a square, a flat. It's synthetic, it's not an expensive one. Royal Taklon. It's not an expensive one, it's quite springy. So let's see what this brush has to offer. So if you get the brushes that are synthetic, you get a lot of spring. They're very, you move them and they just spring back. And then you get the natural hair bristles, and they're softer. They sort of, once you add water, they sort of go floppy, whereas these sort of keep the shapes and they spring back whenever you let go. So it's personal preference, really. There's no right or wrong. I think it's good to have a little selection of both and see which you tend to go for. For me, this brush is just about the shape of the bristles. That's about it. Not too bothered. They don't really hold as much water as well, which I should say at this point. So if you want a brush that's gonna hold plenty of water and get big washes, that sort of thing, then you want to get more of a natural hair. So the mop brushes are fantastic for that, and you can also get the Hake brushes, which I do believe are normally, I don't know, I've only got a couple, but I think they're normally a goat hair brush. So similar to the brush that you may use if you use a shaving brush, that sort of bristle, obviously as a flat like this, but bigger. So they're really, really good brushes to use as well. Now I'm just going to go in the top corner. I'm going to stick with this brush. Like I said, I've not used it before, so I'm kind of enjoying this new brush feel. And there's a few little leaves and foliage coming down, so I'm just going to add some of those coming off this main tree here. So I want quite dark because this is against the light. You got a lot of light in this scene and a lot of things going on in the shadows, so I kind of like that. And we'll see. I may go in and add those deer. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments section. Do you think I should add at least one? I like this one here. Maybe I should add him to the scene. I don't know. But just let me know. Let me know and I can have a go. Probably ruin the painting. I'm not really that used to painting animals. So it's one of those that if you get the shape wrong, then it could look completely wrong. But maybe you could get away with just a little suggestive shape. I don't know. But we'll see. Okay, so there is a few trees in this area here, so behind this main tree. So let me just, I'm gonna just pull some of those. Let's lighten that off a little bit, and then come behind. And there's some nice trees that are bending over, the branches, I say. And there we go. If you're painting anything like this and you got something behind, maybe, I'm just saying, maybe it's easier to paint that first. But I didn't know how much detail I was going to go into with the reference. I didn't know as to how much I was going to paint, so I'm just playing it by ear. And if you do sort of do this, then maybe, if you wanted to add something afterwards, maybe even as an afterthought, then hopefully this does help. I'd love to know your comments. I'd love to know your thoughts. Let me know where you're watching from. This is actually a scene from, sounds like a film. This is actually a photograph that I took while at Lime Park. It's one of the national parks that we have here, and we were members. I keep saying we were members. We keep joining, and then when we don't go, we sort of cancel our membership. But it just allows you access to all these country parks with these manor houses and all that sort of thing. So they are really nice to visit. You get a lot of posh people. But I do like going to those, and I think maybe it's coming into getting colder and wetter sort of weather. Maybe it's something we're going to do again. I'm going to suggest it if we join up again. I think maybe £12 or £13 or £20 for the £20 or something for the year. I don't know, something like that. So it's definitely worth doing. Speaking to you if you're here in the UK, it's just nice because we've actually, whenever we've gone down south, when we've holidayed in this country and stayed in the country, we have a look on the app, and there's like 500 odd places or something that you can go to. And if you're a member, then you get free sort of parking. Most of them are free parking. You get access to the house, the manor house, so you can have a wander in, especially when it's raining. So it's a really nice idea as a family. You can get in these places, and if you're lucky, you can also see deer as they walk around the grounds. So that was quite nice. I remember going there at this particular time when I took this picture, took a few pictures, and I got really, really close to these deer. And so it was really, really nice. I did get some quite close-up shots as well. But I really do like this picture. I really do like the light dappling across the field. I like the little bit of area in the background you can see. So that's, I don't know where that'd be looking over, maybe Derbyshire or something like that, not sure. But yeah, really nice. Some of the places you get castles. You might have a castle there. When we went to Dorset, we went to a place called Corfe Castle. It was quite a drive. It was quite a distance to get there, but it was a really nice place to visit. Going in the grounds and seeing the ruins of the castle and being able to walk sort of around. It was just really nice to do. So now I'm rambling now. Just want to get some leaves and a bit of foliage on this bit of tree. So I'm just gonna pop in. Using this brush again. See, I don't use a brush for many years. It's just lying there, and then as soon as I use it, I don't want to put it down. That's kind of what I'm like with my art supplies. Whenever I get used to something, I just use it and use it and use it and use it. Forget that I've got all the other stuff that I don't use. But yeah, it's quite fun. You can never have too many art equipment, right? Let me know if you like me in the comments. Do you have lots of different art supplies that you keep planning to use, and you will do? You believe you will do one day? Is that you? If it is, then I just encourage you, just get it out. Just get it out and give it a go. You never know. It might be the best thing you've done in a long time. I just like routine. I've got my own way of doing things, and stepping out of the norm is like My son says I'm autistic, and maybe I am. Maybe I am. Somewhat. I think everyone has some of it. At some point, I think, is it one of those things that can just develop? I don't know. But I've always had these sort of tendencies where I like routine, and if I do something, I like to do it like the best I can and just keep going. I'm stubborn as well. I don't know whether that's anything to do with it. I don't like change, and I'm really stubborn. So maybe that is something to say about that. I don't know. But I'm just having fun with this now, just popping in little different colour leaves. I'm using mostly sap green for this, but I have tapped into a little tiny bit of Indian yellow, which I don't usually use, just to get some of that light, which I do like. Yeah, that's looking quite nice. Let me bring the camera back a bit. It's just always an awkward angle to film in, being upright rather than a landscape, being in portrait mode. I never understood that, why when you do live stream it's got to be in this format. If anyone knows, can you let me know in the comments section? I'd love to know why. I'd love to know why when you live stream it's got to be this format, or am I missing something completely? So if you do know, then please do let me know. It's just one of those things that bugs me, and maybe there is a solution that I'm not aware of. So please do reach out and let me know what's going on with that. So just add in a few little pops of leaves coming down this way. Just keeps it nice and organic looking as well, having these little pops of leaves. Now I'm going to go in quite dark now. I'm going to go in quite dark for this tree, the shadows and the cast shadows. So this is mostly neutral tint, and let's just go in and see what we can do with this. You see that colour? It's quite dark. Let me move the camera. There we go. Hopefully you can see it properly. I'm just coming in and adding all this darkness to the tree. And you know, when you're adding the dark, that's really when things begin to pop. If you've not noticed that in watercolor, or maybe in any painting, it's really the contrast that makes the world of difference. Let me know in the comments section what you think, and what's your favourite part of the painting process. I really do enjoy adding these pops of dark. And I know it's quite funny because a lot of times I don't go dark enough. So it's something that I'm working on. I don't know what it is. Maybe fear of messing up. You got your painting and everything looks really nice, and you got your tree, and you know, maybe you've spent a bit of time doing that and you just don't want to go back in. You don't want to ruin things. It took you a long time to do that. I don't want to ruin it. Is that what it may be? I don't know. Let me know. I'd love to know your thoughts. I'm not on my own, I'm sure. And just a little bit of shadow coming down on this underneath the branch. And it's looking quite nice and dark, which that's what I want. And so there we go. And this one here. Okay. So you do have some of this light coming down and the darkness. So it's nice to make the most of that. Don't paint over it. You want to keep a lot of these dappled light even on the tree trunk, which is really nice. And then you come down here, it goes a bit thinner and then comes back out as it comes down the tree. So there we go. Can you see the effect that has on the overall composition on the painting? So it's really important to get those darker shapes. Can you see that? It just really does. And you don't really need that much detail. The shadows will give you that detail. The shadows and light will always sort of fill in some of the blanks. So you don't want to overlook those. Oh, I think it's too dark, I don't want to include that. It just really does help things to pop. Hopefully you can see what I mean. Actually, I can move you up a little bit. Quite nice. Oh, that didn't work for me. Okay. No, that's not. Maybe, I don't know. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Have you heard that one? It wasn't broke. I'm just messing. Just want to get the best sort of the best sort of point to see, but maybe I should leave that. Technology isn't my strongest point, but there we go. So just add in, softening a few of those, and there's a little bit of soft sort of shadows coming down, and that's quite nice, so I'm going to include that as well. In fact, I need my rigger brush just to come in with those. Just a few soft details. I don't want them too strong because this is the dark shadows cast from the branches and all that sort of thing. So it's quite a nice feature. You don't want to miss. You don't want to miss anything like that. It plays a part in the overall composition. Hopefully you can see that. It's quite nice. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you're enjoying this video so far. I need to go in, let's add some of that really dark mix to this side of the tree. So I'm coming down, and there we go. Okay, and you just have a little bit of detail. I can do that with this brush. Hopefully you can see. Let me pull you back a little bit. So I'm using this brush now, the belly of the brush, just to give some of that bark sort of texture. And you can just sort of use artistic license for this. It doesn't have to be perfect or look like the reference. Just a nice little uneven sort of broken pattern. Oh, and by the way, this is rough paper, so it does help with that texture when you're using the paper, the texture of the paper, to give you that broken edge, which is really, it's great for water or anything like that. So yeah, just taking advantage of that with obviously with my brush that I'm using. So I'm just softening a little bit of that here and there. Let me go in. I want to add a few more trees to this area now. So let me get some of that sap green mix and just pull a few of those branches. I'm not really after anything too exact, or just want the impression of some trees. So this is perfect. Nice and light mix. Again, it's yellow ochre mostly, and just a bit of mud from my palette now from the colours that I have been mixing. So it doesn't have to be a clean mix or anything in particular. Just go in and just make those marks. There we go. So you can see just a little bit of distant trees. I do like it's almost a reddy mix as well for the trees. So I'm just adding a little bit of that. I'll say a little bit of that, it's very, very red. But let me just... Maybe I should, but well, I always think if it's that important, they can ring back, they can put the number on the call. It's probably just junk anyway. So I just added some of those different colour to the trees. Now what I want to do, it's very quiet today. Very quiet indeed. It's always funny because you never know when people are going to be online. You never know when people are going to be around, whether you've got my UK watchers on, or if I've got my friends from across the pond. But very quiet. I'm sure a lot of my friends are going to catch this on my videos rather than this live stream, unless they do surprise me with an appearance. But yeah, I just want to add some darker green to this bottom layer of the ground, and I can add that dappled light shadows and all these cast shadows. In fact, I'm going to add a little bit of the grass in the background, which is a slightly different colour. So I'm going to include that. It's a bit more warm, a bit more of a warmer tone, a bit of red in there as well. So I'm adding that. And it's a nice autumn colour. This is a nice autumn scene. I don't know when I took this picture, this photograph, but it's almost good to get me ready for autumn. Okay, I'm going to leave that to dry. Let's see if anyone's on the comments. Nope. Gonna just add a little bit of that sort of warmish tone to the tree. Yep, that's what I wanted. Okay, and I think I'll let's see what I can do. I can maybe do something in this area as well. Okay, so I'm going to add the far distance now. I know normally I would work from top to bottom, so I'd usually include the furthest away first and then come closer, but with this one I wasn't really sure what to add, so I'm sort of going the opposite way around. There's no right or wrong. Let me just adjust this. There's no right or wrong, it is what it is, but it doesn't matter as long as you get the things that you want to get on there, I suppose. Let me just, so there we go. Hopefully you can see most of the painting. Now I'm going to go in with a smallish brush. I want to add the sort of distance. So this is going to be, obviously because it's far away, I want it very light and it's going to be more blue than anything. So there we go. That's the distance. And then I think I'll go a bit darker blue for a band, just the band on the bottom. There we go. Can leave a little white speckles. And when you leave little white speckles and just little bits of unpainted paper, that could just be buildings or something in the distance that you don't, it's too far to make anything of it. So it could be anything, You can add, you know, different little pops of colour here and there just to give a little suggested detail of something, but it's just too far to make things out. So I like the way this area, you got a little bit of, almost looks like chimney smoke or anything like that. So I'm going to leave that as it is. Now the thing I do want to do is just add a little bit more green to that area, soften it. I think it's a bit bright, it's a bit dark, should I say. So this is just a bit of trees and foliage and all that sort of thing in the background. So I think I'm quite happy with that at the moment. Let's dry this bottom edge. Oh, just so that you don't get anything bleeding back into the painting. And I think I'm going to connect some of this dark trunk to the bottom of the tree, or to the ground, should I say. So let me just add something there. There we go. It just looks like now it's sitting down on the ground, and that's what I wanted to do. I do want to add some more foliage to these sort of trees. I want the impression of quite a lot of foliage to the trees. Quite, if you're walking underneath, it'd be quite heavy over your head. The branches and twigs and leaves and that sort of thing. So I'm gonna just add these in because if you're going to add the dappled light underneath the shadows, then it's going to reflect that. The light is going to reflect in the ground. So just add in some. I do like when I do these sort of paintings, I do love the way you get some of these branches and twigs and some of these leaves, and it's just against the background, so that can really play a really good part in the painting of distance. And you can go quite dark because there's a lot of light in between these leaves, the branches, the twigs, and the distant sort of background. So although we can't really see what this area is, I'm presuming that it's just land as far as you can see, and there'll be houses, there'll be buildings, there'll be all sorts going on, but you just can't see. So there's no point in worrying about details with that. But this suggestion will obviously do for that. And I'm actually going to change my brush now because I'm getting the same sort of mark for the leaves. I don't want them to all look printed on and uniform. So I'm going to touch into some yellow as well. So this is quite bright. All right, that's better. Getting a different mark now, so that's what I wanted. And just tapping in just a few little leaves, a few little details. Thank you for the like, whoever hit the like. I really do appreciate that. It does help. It does help my channel, and it helps this video, this live stream, to be pushed out to more people, which would be perfect. It's been a really quiet sort of morning. I know people are still sleeping. A lot of my followers are probably working, all that sort of thing. That's, I don't expect you to not work. It's just one of those things. It's just hard to gauge when, I guess, the majority of people are going to be around, when it's good for me as well, because obviously I'm going to have my family back from school and work soon. So this is the reason why I do these live streams when I do. So I do appreciate you being here. And if you're catching this on after it's been live, then don't forget to leave your comment. If you're not subscribed, then please do subscribe. Let me know what you think of these sort of paintings. I do intend on doing my live streams as normal. So Tuesday is normally the day that I do like to get a live stream going. Tuesday, about 10 o'clock in the morning here, UK time. So all welcome. And I'd love to know you. I'd love to hear from you. Love your feedback. Let me know what you think. Good or bad. It's all good. So I'm just looking at this now. I think I'm going to darken. Maybe not. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to add some of the dappled light now. Maybe I'll use I say it's a new brush. I've had it for a long time, but I've only just used it today. I'm going to fill in this sort of dappled As long as that's fairly dry, I'm going to use that really dark sap green, just sap green mostly. I don't think there's any other colour in there at the moment. And I'm just going to pop in. Let me move the camera just a little bit. Excuse me. There we go. And just see if this is ready to... Yep, I think that's all good. Now this is the sort of thing that's ideal for this brush now that I'm using it. Yeah, so there we go. I've learned something today. Don't think you could get this sort of mark as well as you can with this brush. So there we go. Lesson learned for me. If you've got some art supplies that you've never used, you'll never know. There we go. So hopefully that does represent, and if you didn't know the scene, then you'd hopefully put two and two that this is still quite wet in places, so I don't want to ruin it, but it does give a soft mark, so because it's wet it's just bleeding out. So it is giving me some not solid. Let me see if I can go in a little bit thicker. So when you've got wet paper, you have to go in quite thick, otherwise it's gonna just get lost. But I'm just gonna work through it. Suppose, yep. But yeah, you do have some of these solid edges, and that's where the paper's dry. And then you get these soft edges where the paper's wet, so the paint's just bleeding outwards. You can use both. It doesn't really, as long as it doesn't like kill the painting, you're good. So just add. And like I said, this is just sap green. Just sap green, not much water either. And yep, let's just there we go. So it just gives that impression, and that's all I'm after, just the impression of the light coming through. Maybe I should add a couple of those deers, but maybe just after I've done this video, because I'm getting carried away with this now and I've not quite figured out where I would put those. Just gonna add some, things going on. And I think just for composition, I think I just need to add some trees along this line here. So let's go for that. Any sort of tree really. I'm just using my liner brush and pulling up nice lines and all that sort of thing. Let's grab tissue. So there we go. And I'm just going to carry on with that. So that's all I'm going to do. Just add this little tree line. Hopefully that makes sense, and it gives a bit more sort of structure to the painting. I don't know what's going on outside. I can hear some people. I heard some knocking, and then I'm just hearing a bit of, I don't know whether it's shouting. Okay, so, and again, this is really soft. It's a nice sort of soft painting, something quite, I guess, easy on the eyes. Quite nice and calming. It's been definitely calming to paint, so I'm happy with that. Let me grab some more. Just gonna add. Our neighbour actually parked halfway blocking our drive, so I could get out this morning, but I wasn't struggling to get back in because you can't see the bottom of the car and mine. I didn't want to bump, so I had to leave my car outside on the road yesterday. It was 2 o'clock when I came home from town and the car was moved, so I don't know whether it's anything to do with that. Although my neighbour next door, she doesn't drive, so it's nothing to do with that. I think someone's locked out, maybe. I don't know. I could hear some knocking and then someone being quite vocal. So, okay, I'm going to add a little bit more dark into this part of the tree as well. That's just going to give it a little bit more. It's just going to give it a little bit more substance, and it's going to help it to pop a little bit more. I don't think you can go too dark in watercolor, but when you do, the darker you go, the more sort of, I guess, less transparent it looks. And each individual pigment sort of looks, for me, it looks a little bit flat. And that's probably why I know some people say don't use black, that sort of thing, because it's a flat, not actually a colour, but it's quite flat. And so it is better to sort of make your own dark colours or your own black if you know how to do that. I think just keep mixing your primary colours together and you do get some sort of dark, really dark colour. Whether you get black, I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm just going to just soften some of those edges, move them over. So just want a few little marks coming across. And there we go. Okay. A bit of dark down here. Just makes that trunk look like it's planted in the grounds. Something dark here as well, just to give that look. And it's coming off the paper. Okay, so thank you for the like. Oh, dang, you were live. I missed it, getting ready. Oh, hi, Susan. Thanks for joining. It was really quiet. Nobody's joining. I think it's just one of those things. Don't worry too much, Susan. You can always catch this whenever you can. I do appreciate you popping in and saying hi. I got kind of lonely there and wondering what's going on. What's going on? It's not been that long. Susan's one of my friends from Southern Carolina. And like I said, it's just hard to gauge when people are online. you know, obviously with a time difference as well. But so you're working today, Susan? Susan's one of my art friends who's just started on the journey of watercolor. Oh, well, I hope you have a nice day at work. I hope that you catch up later on. And Susan's doing this 40-day, 40 sketches. Is that right, Susan? 40 days, 40 sketches, I think, just for the fun of it. I wouldn't like the pressure myself, but one of the things I think I'm going to have to start doing, see, I've perked up a lot now. someone's here. Yeah, Monday to Friday. It's super early in the States, so yeah, I guess it's not. No, it's well, it's 11 o'clock now here. My live streams, I like to get started about 10 o'clock in the morning here, so I don't know what time that is in Southern Carolina, but glad that you joined. Let me tell you, it's just nice to have someone instead of hearing crickets. And there we go. So yeah, Susan does 40, she's doing 40-day challenge, 40 sketches, and no eraser. Is that right? So that's quite a challenge, I suppose, especially when you're new, because Susan's quite new to watercolor. So it's quite a challenge, I suppose, and it's a good thing. I mean, the only thing I can relate that to is when I joined a sketchbookers club, Manchester Sketchbookers, and it just give you that confidence to go out, and it was a weekly meetup. So every sort of weekend, every Saturday, we'd have a meeting place, which was decided by the, I guess, the person who was in charge, the owner or whatever it is. And there is an app for it, Meetup, and you can sort of meet people with like-minded interest in pretty much anything. If you like to ramble, walk, that sort of thing, then there's a meetup group for it. And just like-minded people, it's just nice to be around. If you do have that sort of passion for whatever it may be. I'm just adding some. I kind of like this brush. It's different. I know I have thought in the past looking at these sort of brushes. I do have these brushes, but they're more for my oil paints. That's another story altogether. But I have, you know, one of the brushes that I love to use in oils is one of these, and it's a Winsor & Newton. I think it's a Cotman one, but it's a flat, 1/4 inch flat, I believe. No, Susan, it's it's not a new brush. It's one of those that I have had for a long, long time. It's not even an expensive one. It's just the probably one that I got in a set years ago, Royal Taklon, 1/4 inch. It's just a synthetic brush, so it's got this nice spring. And I'm just using it for the shape of the brush, so it's quite nice to get these, you know, these marks. So I've got a lot of, this is the, let me just show you, Susan. This is the picture that I got. I'm using sort of as a reference, but I'm not doing the deer. Maybe I should do, but Stifler one probs. Stiffer one, yeah, it is, because it's synthetic. You got that spring. Obviously, using any natural hair brushes, then they have that floppiness to them, and they hold tons more water. But yeah, it is a nice photo. It's something that I took. It's something I took a few years ago, and I went right over to the deer, and it was quite nice. But I do love this, the shadows, the sort of sunlight dappling through the trees, and that's what I'm sort of replicating here, as you can see. So I'm not using the photograph exact. I just wanted to get, it was mostly, I started off with the tree from the scene, and I'm just sort of filling in the background. I was thinking whether to include the deer, but maybe that's another painting. And I do know that I said I'd do a painting of the cats that we have. So I do intend on doing that. So don't worry. I'm not going back on my word. That's something that I do want to do just for my own sort of portfolio, because I don't do a lot of animals. We actually went for a walk on Sunday to the farmyards and places nearby, and they do have some the Jersey cows, and they're those big cows that are like an orangey colour. They're just so beautiful, and it just reminds me when I lived in Jersey, the Channel Islands. That's pretty much all they had, all over the place, and so it reminds me of that. And I just love those cows. So we did try and I did selfishly try to sort of get some pictures, but they weren't in the field when we got there. So that's another one, maybe up and coming. I do want to try and revamp my sketchbooks. I do have a stack of sketchbooks. I've got about maybe 7 or 8 that have finished, and I've got one that I bought for, I think I bought that for Turkey. So I do want to get out and do some sketching, especially plein air, which I haven't done. And I've no excuse, really, no excuse, and I do want to do, so maybe that's my challenge. Susan, you got your 40-day challenge. Maybe I should do something like that with my sketchbooks, because I'm just bad. But yeah, that's something I want to do, because they're all small, my sketchbooks, so it's something that I can have in my bag. So I'm thinking just to have, even, you don't have to I'm not going to take my watercolors all the time, but just some pencils, some pens. And I do want to start sketching as well as, drawing, that sort of thing, which I do enjoy and I would like to do more of, and just have sketchbooks going as sort of thought process into different paintings. But yeah. So hopefully you're doing well. Sketchbook is about playing around with. Yeah, definitely experimenting. We go about into it's all good. Yeah, definitely. And sketchbooks, they don't have to be perfect. It's not something that you're trying to get perfect, or you shouldn't. I know sometimes it's hard, the temptation of going in with a sketchbook, especially the first page. Susan, is it like that for you when you get a brand new sketchbook? The first page is always the hardest one to fill, and you want something sort of, you're almost looking for perfection, but it shouldn't really be that way. It's all about, I like thumbnails, so maybe you could do thumbnails. That's something that I should do. I know a lot of artists say that you should do that. I mean, should, whatever. There's no right or wrong, but I do sort of agree with it. It's perfect for a thumbnail. You could just get some practicing done and do thumbnails, so you get little compositions. Definitely about experimenting. I do totally agree. But you know what? I think I've got to a point of this painting now where I'm quite happy to walk away. Maybe I can add some details another time, but spent quite a bit of time on it. It is, let me see. Can you see that, Susan? They're just hard to see. Unless you're doing a painting that's portrait mode, going upwards, then it's quite hard to see and get the whole sort of painting in the live. But yeah, I'm starting on page 1. Maybe later I will be different. But I am good starting on page 1. Okay. Thumbnails, composition, I'm learning, but have not done one. Yeah, I think it's just a case of if you've got some tape, and I use this normal masking tape, you could just tape off little boxes in your sketchbook. I don't know what size you use, but I think there's something about having little different boxes that you've painted in. It just gives like a little gallery sort of. You open the page and you got quite a few paintings in there. It has its own sort of unique appeal. So yeah, definitely give it a go, Susan. Thank you, Susan. Thank you for being here. And yeah, just thought this is my first live after 8 or 9 weeks, and so I just wanted to do something, and hopefully it's useful. Hopefully it can help if you're struggling or if you want some inspiration. It has been quite some time since I've done any live stream, so it's just nice to be back, and hopefully you can see that. Let's see. I could go on, I could add more details to this and that, but I want to keep things relatively simple. Yeah, I think I could have done a lot more, but I'm just looking at time. I can't believe the time has gone so quick. But I think I'm going to wrap this one up. But I do appreciate you being here, Susan. Anyone else who has dropped by, thanks for watching, and you have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video.